What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday? Going to have a good wide receiver show because the Titans are targeting two veteran receivers to add to the wide receiver room alongside Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and currently Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips, among others. But we're going to have a show about Tyler Boyd versus Zay Jones as the Titans hosted veteran receiver Tyler Boyd, who spent 5 years with Brian Callahan in Cincinnati last week. Then bringing in this week, recently cut Jags receiver Zay Jones, who spent the last year in Jacksonville with Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holtz. So we'll discuss which one we like, the differences, the similarities, and the roles that they could play, what this could really mean based on some conversations we had last week about other receivers in the room. And then it is a Tuesday, which means we will throw shade at the end of the show. Zach, welcome in. Hope you're having a good start to your Tuesday. Great show yesterday, talking a lot of Titans and Rand Carthon being a secret weapon. And now Rand Carthon back at work, bringing in another vet receiver here on a visit. Let's get this thing off and rolling.
Yeah, shade today. It has been a long time coming. I hate this person. And I use that. I can't stand this person. And finally, this person has gotten his due. So a lot of vigor, but this I've maintained this opinion for years, decades even, about this individual. So gonna release on throwing shade, gonna throw some shade in the process. So get ready for that. Have your shade ready. But I saw this. This is one of those that you text yourself a week ago when it happens, and you scroll back in and you're excited when Tuesday rolls around when it's shade day. So we will get to that, and we got a lot to get to. Good conversations. The Titans try to improve their roster continuously throughout the course of the offseason from start to finish, and they're not finished. But we're not finished either. We are also broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got that rolling. We will tweet out link by link, segment by segment on Twitter. You see our Twitter timeline and our handle at A to Z Sports. That is a great way to follow us there on Twitter at ATOZ Sports. If you're a Titans fan, we got to rack up those follows. If you are a Titans fan, it's a very valued follow over there. On YouTube, we ask you to do 3 things. Subscribe. That's the easiest thing. You go to YouTube, you hit search A to Z Sports Nashville, you find our icon, and you hit the subscribe button. That helps everyone. The second thing, if you're already subscribed, as we are on the road to 20K subscribers, we need you to like this video. If you like this video on YouTube, it helps the algorithm. It helps build the community, grow the chat. That's what we want. That's the value to everyone. And then the third thing is hit the alert button. Ring the bell, as they say. And that means when we go live, you get alerted on your phone. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's as easy as you need to do. All 3 things need to be checked off. Subscribe, like, and alert. That's YouTube. Facebook, what's going on? Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. Share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. So share the show around, and we will get this party started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome in the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Like Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. Real quick, Just Smash says, I guess Austin isn't trying to pay up on the bet. Refuses to reach out. I've tried 3 times. I can't find your tweet at me, Just Smash. I have your hat here. I want the hat gone. I talked about it at the end of the show. So I don't know how you've tweeted at me. I can't find it. It took Zach. I went 5 minutes scrolling through Twitter notifications over the last 4 days to figure out where Just Smash has tweeted me.
Here, look,
problem
solver. The funny thing is that
it's your damn bet.
It's me. I'm paying up. So this is worked out hilarious.
Yeah, how about this? How about this? Just Smash. It's not that hard because on my Twitter profile is an email, my professional email. You can send me an email there, austin@A2Zsports.com, and I will be able to mail you this godforsaken hat because I want it out of my office because it's cluttering up the bench space. It looks great with 2 plants I've got there. It's a great spot, but Just Smash's hat is just hanging out. And don't throw this on me. I can't find your Twitter notification. So I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well,
so,
this JC Latham take has taken a turn.
Gosh. Where's your tweet? I can't find it. I don't know. And I don't know if you've responded to that yet. If you're still watching the show, if you came in here, dropped that deuce and peaced out. I don't know. I don't see you anymore. So hopefully it goes, awesome, I'll do that. All right, send me an email, please. God, I need an aspirin. All right, let's get this Tuesday back on the rails.
When you say you need an aspirin, you sound old.
That's a quote from a movie that was well before I was born.
What movie?
It's a certain Christmas movie that Chevy Chase loses his mind. And yeah, because he got the Fruit of the Month Club, the gift that keeps on giving. All right,
it's
so
May, bro, you can't be referencing Christmas movies. It's May.
People that I don't know, whatever. Okay, so we move on now and we talk about wide receivers. And Zach, the Titans brought in wide receiver Tyler Boyd from the Cincinnati Bengals last week on a visit. He was in Nashville on Thursday and left without a contract offer. That was reported by Paul Kaharski initially, and then obviously was confirmed by others that he did not reach anything with the Titans, but interest remained. And then Zay Jones, who was cut after the draft by the Jags, is now visiting the Titans this week. And so, Zach, your initial thoughts on the Titans bringing in some veteran receivers on free agent visits after waiting until pick 182 to address the wide receiver room in the NFL draft?
Well, that's it. How much time and effort and conversation did we have? You guys yelling from the rooftops about Malik Neighbors needs to be the pick. Malik Neighbors needs to be the pick. Didn't even have the opportunity to entertain that. I was yelling from the rooftops about left tackle. I even said I didn't think they needed to do wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. Remember that show that we said that? Well, ends up they for 3 rounds they only had 2 picks, but that was the conversation. And look, Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon came to the agreement that was the case. So I'm not surprised that this is going on. I still think, and this is the unknown, and I think this is the exciting unknown. It's kind of like, wait, this is the Titans, bud. You don't need that many wide receivers. But wait. This is a new Titans offense, right? With a new Titans offensive-minded head coach that comes from a different style, right? And really coaching under different quarterbacks. And so that's where I think, and I find this intriguing, is that he's telling us, I think in free agency, dual running backs, we saw that with Tajay Spears. We'll figure out his emergence with Tony Pollard and what we already know about TP. And then you've got wide receivers. You go out and you buy the most expensive wide receiver on the market, essentially. You already have a very expensive wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins that it is experienced. You've got Chig, who is a pass-catching tight end, needs to improve his skill set, but a pass-catching tight end. And then what do we say going into the draft? We thought that if they went this route, maybe they value Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks more than we know. Now they're sitting here flirting with 2 wide receivers, and that has nuance in itself, right? Maybe one is more expensive than the other. Maybe they're trying to play that game. But what they're telling us is that they need another pass catcher to come in this wide receiver room and help this offense and help this young quarterback in Will Levis, and more importantly, help Brian Callahan take this team where he needs it to go in year one. So I look at these two guys. They have some history, right? We know, at least we can look on paper to see what they've done in this league. And what is that compared to Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks? I find that a very interesting conversation. And then I will touch on the Corey Davis jargon that's been spewed early on to get my blood boiling. But you can react to that.
Well, it's Curtis says, go on and bring Corey Davis back just to see Zach flip. But
there was another Corey saying Corey Davis is better than I don't know if they say better than Zay Jones, or he said it was better than Tyler Boyd. I mean, that's a bold-face effing lie. If you think that, you are nuts.
Corey Davis's best season in the NFL is better than Zay Jones' best season in the NFL, but Corey Davis has been retired for a while, and so for a year or whatever, and so he's trying to make a comeback. So again, Corey Davis is probably not going to happen. But Sam asked Brian Callahan before the draft about wide receivers they were interested in adding, and it was an open-ended question, and Callahan focused more on the slot, right? And that's where he named guys like Phillips, NWI, Mason Kinsey that were on the roster that could help in the slot, and not brought up Treylon Burks. And Callahan said on 3HL last week that he was, focusing that answer more on like slot-only guys. And I think that's where we saw Jaquan Jackson drafted in the 6th round, is a slot primary type receiver, and then bringing in Tyler Boyd, who is a slot type wide receiver in Cincinnati. But then Zay Jones, I think, throws that off a little bit because, okay, they want to go find a slot. They get Jackson, they bring in Tyler Boyd for a visit. But let's look at the difference between these two veteran wide receivers' usage in 2023. Tyler Boyd in Cincinnati had 78% of his targets from the slot, while Zay Jones in Jacksonville had just 17.7% of his targets from the slot. And this is pretty indicative of the entire career for both of these two players. Tyler Boyd is primarily a slot receiver, and Zay Jones is primarily an outside receiver. And so I think that adds a different layer to this conversation, because we assumed that it was a slot-focused veteran need because you've got Ridley and D-Hop on the outside, but now bringing in Zay Jones throws that extra wrinkle in there.
Well, it's tough because Kyle Phillips is a slot. He's just not a very good slot receiver in the NFL, or hasn't been available, right? Yeah. So, and then you've got Treylon Burks, who's not drafted to be a slot receiver, right? He was drafted to be wide receiver 1, outside threat, deep threat, touchdown phenom, and that has not come to fruition whatsoever in the last 2 years, right? So now you have essentially gone out and bought over the draft picks of Phillips and Burks, and now you're kind of in limbo. Can Treylon Burks play the slot? I mean, you're kind of thrown in this position, right? That's not what he was drafted to do, but here we are. Then you've got other guys. Are you going to take on Zay Jones, who doesn't play that position as much as the statistics show? And then you've got Tyler Boyd, who Callahan's very familiar with. He knows exactly how he plays, exactly how he works, and really for the offense, how to get the most out of him, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things come into play as you diagnose what the Titans are dealing with and where some of these pieces are going to fit within the offense, where there's going to be more wide receivers on the football field than I think we've seen since probably, Arthur Smith, but even dating even further back that.
You're going to have to go to Ken Wisenhunt, Dowell Loggins offense if you want to talk about 4 wide, throw it around with Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? When Kendall Wright caught like 96 balls for 1,000 yards. That's you're going back to those days.
And I asked this question, do you know what team he caught his 1,000th yard in that season?
Absolutely not. The Jets.
The Oakland Raiders in Oakland.
Nice. The old Oakland Raiders, no longer with us. All right, so let's get to this question, because I find this to be interesting because of the difference of these two players. And that is, who would you rather the Titans sign of these veteran receivers? Is it Zay Jones or is it Tyler Boyd? Which of the veteran receivers would you rather sign? I've got right here the usage numbers. Boyd, 70% of targets from the slot last season. Jones, 17.7% of targets from the slot. Now let's look at salaries, because I think that goes into the conversation as well. Last year, Tyler Boyd received $8.9 million of cash in the final year of his deal, and Zay Jones received $7.8 million of cash in year 2 of his 3-year deal in Jacksonville before being cut. So the question again, which veteran receiver would you rather the Titans sign, Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd? Because they're different. So which wide receiver would you rather the Titans sign, Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd? We'll get to all of your answers here in a second, but the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should go if an injury pops up in life, because it happens, right? Life and football, injuries occur, and you have to make sure you know who you can trust and who to go to help you get back on the road to recovery. And the Bone and Joint Institute has all the resources and the experts under one roof at their main campus right off of I-65 and Highway 96 in Franklin. They've also got campuses and clinics and rehab facilities across Williamson County and growing. Even this summer, growing to another location as well. So that's where you should turn to. It's where I've gone to in the past. So I'm going to, unfortunately, next week for an appointment with my guy, Dr. Arthur, to check out my knee situation. But you should trust the Bone and Joint Institute, because I do. Check them out. It's so easy to book an appointment online at boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. You see that right there on the screen. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, the king of sportsbook, right there. Apple or Android App Store. You could download it today. Rough close to the night last night as Jokic and Jamal, nowhere to be found Murray, get trounced by the Minnesota Timberwolves without Rudy Gobert. Tough. I had a lot of money, essentially, in that sense, and parlays stacked up for the Nuggets to bounce back. They did not bounce back, but you can bounce back. I can bounce back tonight. Mavs, Thunder. I think that's going to be a sneaky good series. You got baseball, you got NBA. Download the BetMGM app today.
All right, Zach, I will send you to the chat. I'll also work on a YouTube poll here in the meantime. Which veteran wide receiver would you rather the Titans sign, Zay Jones, who's visiting this week, or Tyler Boyd, who visited last week? I think it's clear there are connections to both receivers. Head coach Brian Callahan was the offensive coordinator for Tyler Boyd's Bengals offense the last 5 years, and offensive coordinator for the Titans, Nick Holtz, was the pass game coordinator in Jacksonville last year, working with both Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones. So what's the chat saying between Zay Jones and Tyler Boyd?
All right, we head to the chat and scroll back up. A lot of comments going in. Boyd versus Jones. And, I think they're pretty close. I do think that one is going to get the nod. Let's start with Billy Jones. He's not going Zay Jones. He's going Tyler Boyd. Brad goes Boyd. Corey says Boyd. Tyler Boyd from Aaron and Ashley. Boyd from Josh. Scott says Boyd. Karen says Boyd. Darius, David, and Steven and Rooney all say Boyd. Now I'm looking for some Zay Jones. Steve Jones goes with Zay Jones. So there you go. Boyd going to need the production in the slot from Mike. Curtis C says Jones because he helped Ridley ball out, because those are the connections. You've got Tyler Boyd with the head coach. You've got Calvin Ridley with Zay Jones in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. Paul says Boyd, Zay Jones because he's more polished from Pistol Ramsey. Boyd because of the familiarity, but we talk about familiarity in both players and both aspects. Eric says Boyd for sure from Guy. Katie says Boyd. Let's see here. Danny says Boyd. Eddie says Boyd. Devin says Boyd. Zay Jones from Maven Cole. Zay Jones from Tiffany. We've got neither, but Boyd, I guess, from Hello Lady. So you're going Tyler Boyd. I think this is a runaway winner that the chat is leaning more towards the familiarity of Brian Callahan and the Cincinnati Bengals and Tyler Boyd. Now, Tyler Boyd has better statistics, right? I mean, you look at overall what he produced, but Jacksonville's offense is not Cincinnati's offense, right? Trevor Lawrence is not the same quarterback that Joe Burrow has been.
Mm-hmm.
And, and Tyler Boyd's been doing it. I mean, there's been a period of time that he's been doing that. But, I think it's a valid question. And then cost comes in. But here's the caveat with cost, Austin, is like they have money.
Yeah.
So you're not picking. I do think that the salary is important because contract, are you going to give them a year? Are you going to give them a 3-year deal with an out after the first year? Or are you going to give them both an incentive-based contract? Was that one of the reasons why Tyler Boyd left without a deal and they started to go to Zay Jones? All of these things I think are stacking up. Who do you prefer in this conversation, Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, I think it's literally like, what do I think the Titans need? And going back to last week when we asked the audience, how bad do the Titans need to bring in a veteran receiver like Tyler Boyd? Out of 10, I said a 4 because I think the Titans are in really good hands with DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. I think Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears will be dual threats out of the backfield and also not just running routes out of the backfield, but lining up in the slot, lining up separated from the formation to do some things creatively. I don't necessarily think the Titans have. You want to pause?
Yeah, I disagree. I wasn't on that show, but if I were,
you disagree
on
with
that
the
show,
4 out of 10.
Yeah,
okay.
adamantly.
Sam was higher.
Austin, what are you going to do if DeAndre Hopkins gets hurt? What are you going to do if Calvin really isn't available? Like, who's your wide receivers in this wide receiver heavy offense? You don't have anybody. You're relying on 2 literally unreliable resources. I wouldn't even call them resources in Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips having to step up, and Chig, who we thought was going to have this step up season last year, who really didn't. Now, there was reasons behind that. I think you're in a pretty bad situation if and football, this happens, that one of those guys, DeAndre Hopkins, older, longer in the tooth, and Calvin Ridley, you never know. I mean, crazy things happen in football. I think you're in a completely different spot if one of those guys, I get where your point is of like, oh yeah, if they're healthy, if they're all playing 17 games, but you take one of those guys out, you are relying a lot more on Treylon Burks than you have ever thought that you were going to rely on Treylon Burks.
Well, right, but that's also part of why I need to find something out about Treylon Burks because
you need to go find another wide receiver. That's the point, is you need to be higher on your scale of need for a veteran wide receiver with the money that you have.
I don't necessarily think the Titans have to sign a veteran wide receiver. Like I saw a comment here that I favorited. Nick says, what about starting safety? Could that be an option? Because I think the Titans, 10 out of 10, have to sign a starting safety in free agency before training camp starts. That is a 10 out of 10.
And those are available.
Yeah, they are available, and we'll have shows talking about the guys specifically, I'm sure, later on. I think the Titans need to sign an edge rusher that's a veteran to come in before training camp. I think the Titans need to sign another offensive tackle as well in free agency. I don't think they need a wide receiver. I think those other positions of safety and tackle are needs. I think signing a wide receiver could be a smart move, but it's not a need because you bring up what if one of their 2 really good wide receivers goes down with an injury. You can go across the league and say that, and other NFL teams that have really 2 good guys at the top, 1A, 1B, are going to be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like,
but no, Austin. If Calvin Ridley goes down, you're dealing with Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins in a slightly improved offensive line without Derrick Henry.
Well,
that's not. You're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of games. I'll just
this Nick Westbrook-Akine, I think, has been somebody who's stepped up. Look, if you want to talk about reliability, he's been reliable, Zach. Like. Okay.
Don't bring up NWI as a safety. The guy needs to come in like situations. He doesn't need to be thrown into the. You're throwing him back into the mix in this scenario.
But we're talking about situations. You just said NWI comes in situations, and that's what we're talking about. You're talking
not
about
this one.
you're talking about a significant injury that happens to one of those two guys, your 1A or 1B wide receiver.
You have a bad offense.
And yeah, obviously, if Calvin Ridley and D-Hop are probably the best two players on the Titans offense overall. Maybe Lloyd Cushenberry's 3. I don't think he's going to, if any offense can say, yeah, you're going to be a worse offense if your number 1 or 2 best players on that unit get hurt. That's my point here.
But the point and why we're here, Austin, is let's put Tyler Boyd. I'm going to go ahead and pick. I'm picking. Okay, I agree with the chat. Tyler Boyd, select him. I want him. That's the guy. I think he's shown his competence within the offense of Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor and Cincy, the familiarity. I value that. Now, all of a sudden, if Calvin Ridley goes down, you are not relying as heavily on Treylon Burks. You have Tyler Boyd, who is a veteran wide receiver that now gets a opportunity that he's probably been waiting for, that he hasn't gotten this free agency yet. He's going to come in as a second-tier guy, third-tier guy. That's just where we are in this offseason. But Austin, I don't think that the drop-off offensively is as much if Tyler Boyd is on this roster compared if he's not. Because now Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks are asked to do something they've never done before, which is be good.
Look, I'm with you. But again,
I'd increase that 4 to about a 7.
Well, and I think where my entire stance is on the 2024 Titans season is that competing in 2024 is important, but winning in 2024 is not the main priority. It sounds weird when I say it like that, but preparing to go for it in 2025 is where I think the Titans need to be playing. And I think in order to go for it in 2025, maybe if you bring in Tyler Boyd, maybe he and D-Hop, who will both be significantly over 30 in 2025, have lost a step. And Sam reported last week, over the weekend, that Tyler Boyd has lost a step, and coaches around the NFL at the Combine were telling him that. And could he be a great fit for the locker room? Yeah. And I said this last week too. I think Tyler Boyd would be great to bring in the locker room because he can help out Burks and Phillips and the other young guys and not have D-Hop take time away from doing what he has to do to help out those guys.
You're signing Tyler Boyd to catch passes. I mean, you're signing him to play. You're not signing him as a mentor. He's not.
Again, I'm going off of what Sam reported because Sam called me when he left
Indianapolis. Warner,
right. Sam called me when he left Indianapolis in late February and said, "Here's what I heard about Tyler Boyd from coaches around the league, and it's the Bengals don't want him back because they know what he is." And I was like, "That's interesting because if the Titans have interest in Tyler Boyd, then Brian Callahan obviously feels like he could fill some type of role, and I think an important role for a first-year head coach is bringing in culture people. And I think Boyd and Cheeto on defense are culture people. They might be not quite in their prime but they're at positions of needs, and they can help out create a brand new culture alongside the new head coach who's doing this for the first time. I think he would be more of a culture ad than he would be a converting third downs ad in the second half of games. Like that's truly what I believe of Tyler Boyd right now.
I think if one of the top 2 wide receivers get hurt or aren't available for a game or 2 or 3, that he's absolutely going to be reliable. That's why you're signing him. You're signing him as a backup plan because he has the experience to play and has played consistently. That's why you're doing it.
If you
without him, right? You're relying on guys that have been hurt. That's the biggest fear. That Brian Callahan, I believe, it's gone into this situation as the head coach. He's taken a look at this roster, and a guy who just walked into the room and looks at the amount of games or lack thereof that Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks has played, you're not going to want to go to war with that if something wrong goes down.
I also said last week that this is a Treylon Burks insurance move because look at the timing of bringing in these veteran receivers, right?
But don't you think that's more valuable than a 4?
I have interest because I think in 2025, DeAndre Hopkins will be 34. Calvin Ridley will be 30. Tyler Boyd will be 30. And you're talking about in 2025 trying to actually win a division in year 2 of a head coach.
You sign him to a 1-year deal or a 3-year deal where you can get out after the first year. Austin,
my point is,
this is not a long term. You're resetting. You're going to probably replace DeAndre Hopkins next year with a draft pick. Like,
I want year-over-year building. I want year-over-year.
It's 1 year. You just said this is a unique year. Right, I actually disagree with you. If you can go and pay and you can get a safety and a wide receiver, I think, and if you want to get a tackle too, you have enough money to do that from now until week 1. Now you're going to win, Austin. Like, that's what you're trying to do, is win. Because here is a scenario. The NFL is weird. You have 4 new playoff teams every single year. 4 new ones.
Out of 14. Out of 14, right.
You could be that. Well, out of, there's 32 teams. There's turnover of 4.
There's 14 playoff teams and 10 teams on average making
flipped. You've just flipped and have seen this division kind of go around about. Will CJ Stroud go through a sophomore slump? Will Trevor Lawrence and the Jags kind of sputter out because they haven't really done much since over the last couple of years? They've kind of been the same with their ceiling. The Indianapolis Colts have no idea who they have at their quarterback position. He may be dynamite. He may be slaw. I mean, who knows?
He may be a roller coaster of both.
Right? And you may be dealing with the rookie moves of that. Yeah. The Titans have a game plan. They've spent a lot of money for, at least in the small short term, at least this season, to go win. You go buy Tyler Boyd for 1 year and you have an insurance plan if one of your guys go down and your season is not just completely falling off.
All right. So we've gotten away from the question here. I do want to get back to it. Zach, you answered. We asked the question, who would you rather have with these veteran receivers, either Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd? I'll also update this poll. But first, Zach, tell everybody about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans.
I will, and I'm going to answer this question real quick, courtesy. If Levis hits a sophomore slump, then what? You're picking top 5, Curtis. That's what's happening. So, boom, there goes the dynamite. Let's move on to, a great plan. You got to have a plan if Will Levis goes to a sophomore slump or a sophomore surge. You never know. Get a plan with Farm Bureau Health Plans, trusted by A to Z Sports, the Tennessee Titans, the Nashville Predators, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Been in business over 75 years in the state of Tennessee. If you are a Tennessean and you live in Tennessee, they've got 200 plus locations across the state. They've got agents peppered everywhere across the state to help you improve your health plan, health, dental, and vision. They can put your perfect plan together for you individually or you and your family. All you have to do is take a health assessment, then get a quote, and then you make the decision on your own. Visit Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. That's FBHP, Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
All right, and with BetMGM, you can enjoy all your favorite sports like never before with BetMGM and sign up using our bonus code ATOZ Sports and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Remember, use our bonus code ATOZ Sports and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets for the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer, subject to qualification and eligible requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for problem and gambling support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So once again, going back to the question, who would you rather the Titans sign? Veteran receiver Tyler Boyd, who 78% of his targets last season came from the slot, or Zay Jones, who's 17.7% of his targets came from the slot, and all the others came from the outside. After all that commotion, Zach, my overall need for the Titans to sign a receiver like these two guys is a 4 out of 10. But if I'm picking between the two players, I think Tyler Boyd is the better fit because Zay Jones is not a slot player. He has been in the league for a long time. He's 29 years old. He's played a lot of games. He's been with a lot of teams, whether it's the Bills, the Raiders, or the Jags. and he's been a primary outside receiver for all of his time in the NFL. And Tyler Boyd has been in the NFL for a long time, all with the Bengals, and the last 5 years with Brian Callahan, and he has been a primary slot guy, but that's been because they've got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on the outside. But I think what you're seeing there, that 78% would probably be a lot higher if T. Higgins stayed healthy and if Jamar Chase stayed healthy. Because the last 2 seasons in Cincinnati, T. Higgins missed a chunk of games with an injury. Jamar Chase 2 years ago missed a chunk of games, went on injured reserve with that hip injury. And Tyler Boyd's got the best versatility to play outside in a pinch or be a really solid player inside. And I think that's where the Titans need help. I like that they have man coverage beaters. And I think Calvin Ridley and D-Hop are man coverage beaters with what they can do. Tyler Boyd does not have the explosiveness, the quickness that he used to have to be a man coverage beater. But I think a zone coverage beater is where Tyler Boyd uses his experience to get open across the middle, to be an underneath guy for Will Levis. How about this? This is a stat I got from our guy, Evan Winter, one of the managing editors of our website. Neither guy is very impressive in yards per route run. Tyler Boyd is 1 yard on average per route run, and Zay Jones is 0.6 yards per route run, and these are both from the slot. So these are guys that when they play in the slot, it's quick throws, immediate type things. And for Zay Jones, limited snaps in the slot. So that tells me when he's in the slot, they are throwing it to him like on a quick bubble screen or like a quick
It's a
slant.
surprise. It surprised the defense of like, oh, wow, we didn't plan for this guy getting the ball at this point.
He is not a route runner from the slot. He is a turn, catch the ball, and run guy from the slot, where Tyler Boyd is more of a route runner from the slot. So I do think Tyler Boyd is the answer here. I'll add this, though. If Zay Jones selects the Titans and signs with the Titans, I think that says something interesting about maybe the biggest question mark on the coaching staff of offensive coordinator Nick Holtz. Because the one real coaching staff hire that we could criticize was the air quote buddy hire of Nick Holtz, high school teammate and friend of head coach Brian Callahan, who nobody else in the league would hire Nick Holtz to be an offensive coordinator, but Brian Callahan did. But if Nick Holtz has Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones come from Jacksonville to Tennessee, I think that says something about Nick Holtz's ability to connect with players in a good way. And does that calm my nerves about him being the OC? Not all the way, but I think it's a positive sign about Nick Holtz.
So this is why you shouldn't be concerned or as concerned is Brian Callahan is setting this thing up the exact same way that it was in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And
I know we've been over that conversation. I'm aware, but still, like
Nick Holtz not going to be doing as much.
He's not calling
involved, but the guy who's responsible has the head coach headset on. Right?
I understand that, but I'm looking at a reputation of a coach to do a job, and Nick Holtz is the most unproven coach on staff. Like Brian Callahan's never done his job before, right? We understand that, but Nick Holtz does not have a resume like all the other coaching staff hires that have been made by Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan, and Brian Callahan's the guy who's giving him this job opportunity. And I get it that he is
Didn't we think it was crazy that Arthur Smith, the tight ends coach, all of a sudden became the offensive coordinator?
Yeah. No,
I remember Arthur Smith covering this team back in the day. Arthur Smith and Delaney Walker, they're just chumming it up on the sidelines. I'm not saying he wasn't putting in work, but like the tight ends coach, all of a sudden in literally 5 years, you snap, and he's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. We all know that didn't work out, but like this is a new age and era of football, and I think that Brian Callahan is setting it up as such. They're friends, relationship hire, as you referenced. He's trying to put him in the same spot that Brian Callahan was put in under Zach Taylor.
I agree, and that's very evident to see, but my point is that if the Titans sign Zay Jones, maybe it means that Nick Holtz is more equipped to do the job than I initially thought, because Calvin Ridley came here, Rand, and you'll hear this when the install comes out. I think an episode's coming out tomorrow with Buck of Rand talking about the Ridley acquisition and telling the backstory that was deeper than the backstory he told at the press conference. But maybe Nick Holtz has more value than what I initially thought he would, of just being Brian Callahan's guy drawing up the game plan that he's telling him to draw up, right? Where Callahan's calling the plays. So that's my point.
I personally, Nick Holtz is in the best position of anybody in the franchise because this is how I think it's going to go. If the offense is awful, first thing that's going to happen is you're going to assess your quarterback's play, right? So it will be on Will Levis. If that is not it, then what are you going to do? You don't want to go the Frank Reich situation where you're going to, give up your play calling. So then Nick Holtz is going to get his opportunity. And if he's either going to succeed or fail. If he fails, then it will be on the head coach to take it back. And then that, again, this is like worst case scenario. Best case scenario is the offense does well and Nick Holtz gets the credit for it.
No, yeah, Nick Holtz is in a blameless position, right?
The bizarro Todd Downing.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's a great spot for him to be in.
Perfect. So, I mean, you'd love coming to work every single day. Look, I'm not going to get any of the blame if this thing goes awry. The head coach is calling the plays.
At least not this year. At least not this year. That's true.
Or next year, or the following year. I mean, this is how it's set up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At some point, every head coach is different. Zach Taylor has never given up play calling duties. Neither has Sean McVay, and there's others are out there.
Because they hadn't gotten to the point of like Carolina that things were so bad that people were calling. Like, you were calling for Todd Downing's job, correct?
Yes.
Right? You're not going to be calling for Nick Holtz's job, Austin.
Right. I agree. I'm with you. I'm on this side. I'm on this side. All right. So, I put up a poll on YouTube, and I asked, which veteran wide receiver would you rather the Titans sign, Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd? I added both or neither to the poll question because I wanted to figure out how people thought about this from a bigger picture of both, meaning that you really think they need help because you don't believe in Treylon Burks or Kyle Phillips, or neither because you want to see how that happens with Burks and Phillips. So we'll get to the results of that poll here in a second, but it is the week before Mother's Day, which means you got to make sure you don't forget the easiest holiday in the year to win. And that is by going to amomentspeace.com/mom, amomentspeace.com/mom to get that gift card for the mom in your life today. Whether it's a little bit or a lot, A Moment's Peace can take care of the mom in your life to make sure that she gets what she deserves. And that's A Moment's Peace. Whether it's a mani-pedi combo, a facial, anything with the hair in the salon, or a massage. It could be a neck and shoulders 45 minutes that I could probably use right now. It could be a 60-minute Swedish. They've got the deep tissue massage. They've got 90-minute massages. They've got the couples massage. And Zach, we've been going with a 90-minute couples massage because once you go 90, there's no reason to go back down to 60 minutes because that extra 30 minutes. Oh, I mean, if they could offer it, I'd sign up for it. But amomentspeace.com/mom is where to go to win Mother's Day, located in Cool Springs, right off of Carruthers, right there at A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They are the king of the sports book. Saw something in the chat saying, what was my answer? I answered earlier. I chose Tyler Boyd. Went a little unconventional because of what the conversation goes. I'm curious to see what you're going to say because I have a side off the beaten road topic that a commenter said that I want to get into shortly before Shade.
Yeah, I was going to go into the YouTube poll because I put this up. It's got over 150 votes. Again, only for our YouTube viewers right there. So people on Facebook don't have a chance to really interact, which, I wish Facebook could be better with the live poll option. But I gave the options of which veteran wide receiver would you rather the Titans sign? Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd, neither or both. An overwhelming 62% is going with Tyler Boyd. But then I'm looking at a 15% say neither. Then 14% say Zay Jones, and 9% are both. So I think the fact that 15% of neither outweighing the Zay Jones individual is interesting, because I do think there are some people out there that want to see Treylon Burks either fly or sink, swim or sink. And so that's kind of where I think that the neither group is at.
Well, that brings up, if they do sign him, and again, topic for another show, but like, are they trying to trade him? Are they trying to get anything, pennies on the dollar for him? Like, is that how out they are? And we don't know. Like, that's probably been the biggest mystery of the offseason is, if I asked, how do you think the Titans feel about Treylon Burks? The only logical answer is, we don't know. Because they don't draft a wide receiver high, but then they go and flirt with veteran wide receivers like 3 days after the draft or however long. They don't comment on him quite often.
Well,
and
Brian Callahan did comment on him last week. It was the Monday after the draft when he was on 3HL, and there was a question directly on, what have you seen from Burks? How do you feel about him? And Callahan said all the things that you would expect him to say. He's shown up. He's looked good. He's excited about what he can do. He's a versatile piece. And he said, it's his job. It's Callahan's job to figure out the best ways to use Treylon Burks to maximize his skill set.
See, I would say it's his job. It's Treylon Burks' job.
He has said that. He has said that he's got to stay healthy. He's got to be available, and he's got to go out there and catch the football and prove that he can do those things that we saw him do in college. So Callahan said that in January or February. I think it might have been at the combine. And then on Monday, after the draft, he said, I like what I've seen so far, because now he has seen him on the Titans practice field going through football drills and reps with the rest of the offense. So look, we don't know, right? But they're bringing in help for a reason.
Well, because Treylon Burks poses the two worst qualities that you can have in a failing wide receiver: drops and availability, or lack thereof, right?
Yeah.
Like, those are two things that you can't do. Austin, future show. This is probably training camp. The day before training camp eve, maybe. Or Eve. Maybe not Eve, but Eve.
Okay.
Who will have a bigger season? Caleb Farley or Treylon Burks? Who will actually get to week one? Caleb Farley or Treylon Burks?
Yeah.
A lot is going to happen from now until week one, boot to leather. I don't know. I think we're all very curious and intrigued to see what's going to happen with both of those first round failing picks.
Failing
first round picks.
Bigger is an interesting word to use there with both those two players, because it's very relative. I don't think either is going to have a big season, but which will have a bigger between the two. That's something that I'm not entirely sure of. Was that your side topic before the show?
No, my side topic goes back to Nick Ewing brought this up. Okay. So had a comment earlier about if Will Levis fails, right? What's going to happen? So the answer is, well, the Titans are going to be picking top 5. And Nick says, if the Titans pick top 5 because of Levis, then I blame Ram for passing on the 2024 draft class of QBs, which, that is complete hindsight, right? So that is what that is. But you sit there and you look at the Titans, and what it made me think is Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniel, those guys were off the board. So, right. But the Titans had the pick of the litter of the next 3, Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix. You think, and now we'll kind of follow this. We'll follow what Will Levis does. This is just like one of those, this is why I say it's a side topic, but like, who of those three is going to be the best out of those three? And will one of those three be better than Will Levis in the next 4 years?
I mean, I think like obviously JJ McCarthy, I think has the best opportunity to succeed early because he's
Michael Penix Jr. doesn't have an opportunity to succeed early
because he's not going to play.
Barring injury, yes.
Barring another, and if old Kirk Cousins Falcons thing, man, I saw a national reporter, name escapes me off the top of my head right now, but saying like one of the big things of Kirk leaving Minnesota was because the Vikings told him up front that they were probably going to draft the quarterback high to be the future. He was like, okay, thanks for letting me know, I'll leave. And he goes to the Falcons, who do something and pick a quarterback higher than what the Vikings did. Just a weird situation. And then Bo Nix, like the Broncos are in such a shrug your shoulders, what are you going to do type of thing with Bo Nix.
It's like they've gone from Russell Wilson, which is a costly mistake, to another high draft pick possible mistake. I think with Will Levis, and here's the glass half full scenario, which is kind of weird because when you draft a quarterback, the reason why those guys go in the first round is for the fifth-year option, because you draft them for a reason. You draft them because you think they're going to be successful. They're not all successful, and we saw that with the draft class of Justin Fields and Zach Wilson and all that.
Mac Jones.
What if Will Levis isn't successful? And this is what the Titans are doing, is they're putting their chips around Will Levis to figure it out, because if he's not, you don't have to worry about the fifth year. You're just going to draft somebody else or sign an aging quarterback that is unhappy at his current situation, right?
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield, come on down. Baker Mayfield, 2026 Titans.
No, you don't want that. You don't want that. No, don't do that. Don't say that.
Oh man. I just came up with my shade. It was going to be, I had some shade, but I can kick that can the next week, because I came up with some new shade here on the show. But real quick, our guy King VC says, "Good morning, gentlemen in chat. Lock in, like the show. We've been slacking." I agree with VC. We had maybe it's a little bit of like draft hangover from the like button. Like you guys have been here interacting, but the like button hangover from King VC's back-to-back week challenges maybe are getting to people a little bit. But hit that like button for a guy King VC. Appreciate him every day. Chop coming in here and help us out with the like button campaign. So Zach, are you ready for shade?
I mean, if there's any person ready for shade, it is me. Right. I don't know, Tiffany. I was going to say Tiffany and Devin may be the shade, the real shade heroes of today.
I did see that, a little firefight in the chat, but Wilson County Hyundai is where you should go to get your next ride. Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon will hook you up, help you save money on that new car because you're not paying those downtown prices. You're going out to Lebanon, a beautiful drive, I-40 east out of downtown, to see what they have on the lot and online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. So shade to be had in the show, in the chat. I will let you have the walk-off for the shade because you went pretty heavy tease on your shade in our show open. So if you want to go ahead and maybe what's the Devin Tiffany shade? Can you explain that? Can you give us the verbal breakdown?
No, I caught the tail end. That's called friendly fire in the chat. I caught the tail end of it, but it was I did see Tiffany stake her flag of like, you got to be here for 5 years, which Tiffany's been here for a long, long time, right?
As has Devin.
The real OGs, when the real OGs start to chatter, that's when it's May. That's what I'll say. So let's go to the chat.
Devin, real quick, Devin does say no shade, all love. So it's just just real brother sister battle right there, right?
Let's see. Borkington shade on Bork's dentist dropping his insurance provider. Yeah, that's no good. Got to get those teeth cleaned. Big Ten Jeff shade on Liverpool fans for going into Darwin Nunez's DMs. Yeah. Talking about his family. Welcome. I assume Darwin Nunez is a soccer player, and that comes with the territory. So
he either did something good or bad to help or hurt Liverpool. I don't know who Darwin Nunez is.
Super shade on fighting in the chat. We saw that today. Ashley says shade on all the storms in Tornado Alley lately, always at night. There has been a lot of, it is tornado season, right? When the weather's mix, warm and cold right here. Jacob says shade on work meetings being shuffled and moved 5 times in 2 days. That's never fun. That gets your calendar working. Let's see here. Shade. Billy Jones says shade on whoever said I sound like Frasier. I guess that's Chris Frazier, not the show Frasier.
Because it would be a good thing if you sounded like Frasier from the late, I guess that would be 80s sitcom?
90s. That would be something to look at. It's definitely 90s. I don't think it was 80s.
Okay, I'll check it.
All right, that is.
I did see
the chat. Go ahead.
Patricia said shade on the Preds losing, which I will toss in. Patricia was at the install show Friday, and Rand Carthon had just ended, was walking off the stage, and somebody had the Preds game up on their phone. And Patricia was to my left. Sam was there. Will Bowling, Lucas Panzica from the zone. We're all kind of huddled around waiting for Rand to walk off. And then, boom, Vancouver scores the goal, 1-0 with like 3 minutes left. And we're like, dang. Like, that could have been a fun Game 7 on Sunday. But that's some pretty good shade there. The Frazier update, it looks like 1993 is when it began. 93 through 2004. So I was way off. I did not realize that Frazier was that recent. So my shade, Zach, is on people and Titans fans who have been hating on 2025 mock drafts for having the Titans picking in the top 5 or top 10.
Yeah, 4.
And then they're attacking the people that are doing the mock drafts early, right? But those this is more of a PSA than it is a shade. But the mock drafts that are 2025 way too early mocks are using reverse Super Bowl odds from Vegas to come up with their draft order more often than not. Like, I don't think Dane Brugler is using that because he had the Titans picking second, but the Titans are usually around like 5 or 6 because that's around where they are in the reverse Super Bowl odds. So you brought up this, and this is what made me think of this, is because you said if the Titans are picking top 5, they're probably searching for a new quarterback because Will Levis maybe wasn't able to cut it. And that immediately made me think of 5 or 6 months discussing Shedeur Sanders. And that is not anywhere I want to be living in the tail end of 2024 and the early months of 2025 is discussing Shedeur Sanders, whether he will be a good NFL quarterback or won't, and whether his dad wants him to play for the Titans.
Yeah, he won't. Look, I'll just say right here, Deion, the Tennessee Titans are not high on Deion's list to have his son start his career.
That's right. And so that is where I am just having some understood precautions on Shedeur Sanders conversation. I do not want anything to do with Shedeur Sanders conversation. So if the Titans are picking in the top 7 next year, maybe it's because they need an edge rusher, right? Because the defense is giving up 30 points a game, which would not be ideal either. Or I don't know why, but yeah, hopefully it's not they need a quarterback because I don't want to deal with Carson Beck either. So that's my shade/PSA for today.
All right. I've had this shade built up for a long, long time. There's a handful of people that I can't stand that make me angry, that really just grind my gears. And this individual has always been one of them. And if you've known me for a long time, you know that I can't stand this person. And the reason why is, and he's a football player, he's a bad human being. This is a bad person. And to know that he finally got his due after all these years, and knowing that He also understands how he got his due because he's not organized and has not properly taken care of his business. But that man is the awful person that is Bill Romanowski. And he filed for bankruptcy because he didn't pay the government. Well, the government's seeking $15.5 million in back taxes. This is the same guy that was shoveling 127 multivitamins / creatine / testosterone / whatever the hell down his children's throats on a daily basis and trying to profit off of the pill uses of the multivitamin universe. He's a bad person. He's awful. I've always hated him. He's a dirty player. He's the guy who spit in your face on third down, right? Like, get the hell out of here. Broke somebody's arm at the bottom of the pile. This is the dumb SOB, really POS, that would go at the bottom of the pile and grab your junk and pull just because, hey, trying to get the advantage to make sure, hey, we know you're a good player on offense. We're trying to get you out of the game. So F you, Bill Romanowski, and I hope you go to prison, to be honest, for avoiding taxes, because this has been a long-standing timeline leading up to all of his bad actions. I believe that as a human being, we all know right and wrong. We all have been taught, or hopefully all of us have been taught right and wrong. Bill Romanowski, time after time, year after year, had consistently leaned into wrong. And now the government's going to get you, bub.
That's a good one. When you tease that, it's been a long time since we've had a Bill Romanowski rant, because I guess he hasn't been in the public eye for a bit. But yeah, I'd forgotten.
He's been hiding from the government and all of his taxes. When you make a lot of money, guys, and I hate to say it, there is a cost for freedom. Okay. Freedom is not free. And we are very fortunate that we live in a place that, and I'm going to go on a little rant here, but we live in a place where you can go and you can get drinkable water and you can live in nice houses. We have first world problems. I always say that, right? That because we live in a first world country, but you at least have to pay taxes. You live in a place that the government has to run. You could agree with the government, disagree with the government. I've got my own opinions. You've got your own opinions, but you've got to pay your taxes, especially if you make a lot of money. You have to pay more taxes than people that make minimum wage or less money. It's conceptually logical, but Bill Romanowski, and the bad human being that he is, didn't want to play that game. So I hope, he finds himself in a jail cell somewhere next to a guy that doesn't take multivitamins.
Well, maybe Bill Romanowski can just continue to do push-ups and pull-ups all day long while he's spending his days in said cell.
That's all I have.
All right. Look, good shade. I'm all co-sign on any Bill Romanowski shade. I'm up for that. But that is our show for this Tuesday. Great show today, talking Titans wide receivers. We'll see how the conversation develops. We'll keep our heads on a swivel for free agent updates as Zay, how that develops as well. You got something else?
No. You froze for a second. And so whenever you freeze, I do the bob and weave to make sure that I'm still moving.
Okay.
But
I
that's it.
I didn't know if you were like dodging a cicada or something.
They're out. The brood, the brood is back. That is the best part about the cicadas, which is not many, is that you get to bring back the word brood. The brood is coming back after 17 years.
There you go. That'll do it for us. Make sure on your way out the door, you hit that like button on Facebook and on YouTube. Goes a long way for us. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow our Facebook page. That's where a lot of our content comes out. Also check up with A2ZSports.com/Nashville and all of our social media for more Titans content throughout the day. Buck Rising live tonight, A2Z Sports Primetime at its new start time at 7 p.m. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.